Welcome to a winning edition of Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade. My name is Gabe Henderson. Ben Leber is alongside me, and Ben, the Minnesota Vikings win in thrilling fashion today, 20-17 over the Washington Commanders. And I haven't processed this game just yet with all the back and forth, the momentum swings, everything that went into this game. This Minnesota Vikings team still found a way to get a win. You talking to Kevin O'Connell in the locker room right after the game. What were his thoughts on today's win?
I mean, it's really the same thing that we've seen from this team all season long. He's like, we're a resilient football team. Yeah. We're never out of it. He's like, I said, it always seems like from a fan perspective that, you hit these lulls in the game, and then when you have to make these critical plays, all of a sudden they just can make the critical plays. Like, what is to that? He's like, it's just obviously just a belief in what we're doing, and, guys not giving up, and we're just trying to out-execute on every play, and it just so happens that they're making more critical plays than their opponents, and this was the same thing again. Mm-hmm. I mean, you never saw a true quit. Now, you saw some disappointment. Mm-hmm. There were some guys on the sideline that were obviously very depressed. I think that the Commanders' defensive front, they really took it out on us offensively. I don't think they gave us a lot of life. They're kind of sucking it away. But then, one successful play after another, all of a sudden you see the life kind of pop back into this team, and obviously a bunch of big plays down the stretch put it over the top.
You definitely needed a big play down the stretch following the end of the first. Well, I guess the first play of the second half. I can't think of his name. Cameron Bynum runs into the back judge. The Washington Commanders score a touchdown, and everyone is thinking, okay, is this how the Vikings are going to lose by the back judge literally running into a play where we should have had an interception? And then we started chirping away, started getting some momentum back. Harrison Smith gets an interception. What would you say about this resilient Vikings team being able to fight back when we're down 17-7 in the fourth quarter?
Well, I think there's one play that really, to me, was kind of the turning point. There's always, turning points in a lot of these games, especially these games that are so close. It comes down to just a possession or two. It was third down.
Okay.
And Kirk makes that throw to Justin Jefferson, I believe, for 47 yards down the left Vikings hash.
Yep.
He takes a shot by Daron Payne and lays there literally in pain, and it's a sit-out play. That, to me, was the injection of confidence I think that this team needed. We only got 3 points out of it, but we were down by 10 points at that time. You get 3. You now take a 2-possession game down to 1 possession, and you give this team some life, some confidence. Like, oh, man, even though they got a guy that was, end up being a free rusher to get a quarterback hit, we're able to execute down the field. We really hadn't done that much throughout the game up until that point. So I think it gave our offense some life. It gave our defense some life. In the very next possession, you get the Harrison Smith interception.
The Harrison Smith interception was due to this Vikings team just being able to play really good on first down. Our run defense was phenomenal today. Dalvin Tomlinson, we knew he was out. He was out with the calf injury. So Ross Blacklock, Terrence Ross, Jonathan Bullard, James Lynch, all those guys had to step up. We held those guys to less than 4 yards per carry. What did you see from our backups filling in for Dalvin Tomlinson that was able to get us that edge over their offensive line?
Well, I think as the game went on, we were able to stop sort of reading some of this zone read stuff. When you're trying to guess right, and sometimes that becomes a problem because you're not making things declared for your linebackers and your safeties and the run fits. As the game went on, I think we declared a little bit more. We were stouter at the point of attack. We weren't getting washed down. We weren't getting pushed horizontally across the line of scrimmage. And so we clogged up the A's and B gaps, the inside gaps. And then we saw late in the game a Caleb Evans coming up and run support on the outside as a cornerback, which is what you have to do. Once you declare you see it's run, now you shift your focus from pass defense to run defense, and he did a phenomenal job. So a couple good examples there of just how everybody worked really, really well in tandem across that defensive front.
That's a really good point you made about Caleb Evans coming up and tackling later in the game. Cameron Dancer, our starting cornerback, got injured, I believe, in the early part of the second half. But Caleb Evans comes in, get some really game-defining plays. And you can tell the Washington Commanders team were saying, okay, let's block everybody on the Minnesota Vikings defense, and let's put our running back one-on-one with the cornerback. The cornerback is usually the worst tackler on the team, and the fact that he stepped up today, you had to be excited about what you saw with him, right?
Oh, it was super excited. You always kind of wonder, are these guys – we love to say, next man up, that's the mentality. It's a lot easier said than done sometimes. But, he's one of those guys that is truly becoming a gamer. He seems to be always ready for the big moments. And I think the thing that helped was with Dantzler being kind of questionable going into the game, I'm assuming that Caleb got a lot of reps in practice too. So he was prepared, and you could tell that he was prepared for this moment when he gets in there and ends up playing for most of the game. So like you said, the way that he's able to come up and run fits was great. He played, great on pass defense, 4th and 1. The boot across the field, he's there to knock the ball down. So he had a huge impact in this game.
Another person who had a huge impact in this game was T.J. Hockenson. We didn't know how much he was going to learn, what he was going to know going into this game. I remember being at practice on Wednesday, and he had a paper in his hand with tight ends coach and Brian Angelico, and Brian Angelico was like 1A. He stepped right. 1B, step left. Okay, good. So it was like he was literally learning the basics of the game, and the fact that he played almost 90% of plays today, 9 catches, 70 yards, 3 catches on 4th down on 3rd down that converted to 1st downs. What did you see from him that made this offense go?
Well, right away you saw the defense have to respect him. You saw previously with the tight ends that we've had on this roster, when we're like in 11 personnel, 1 tight end, 1 running back, and usually a passing situation, you see the defenses lately lining up with linebackers.
Yeah.
And that makes it really tough to do what we want to do, because these linebackers now, they can use these safeties to double team JJ, they can double team Thielen when they want to, but right away when they saw Hockenson split out, they put a safety over the top of him. So now all of a sudden a safety that you can use to double team or bracket somebody on the outside, you couldn't do that in this game.
Yeah.
And the way that he can wiggle and then he can move at the top of his route to gain separation even from safeties, I'm telling you, man,
it's dangerous.
This acquisition is truly a game changer. Now, I know that the fans out there are probably saying like, well, why didn't we take advantage of those situations? Look, maybe it didn't like come out in this game right away when we saw those matchups. That's a really good defensive front. You're not going to see a lot of defensive fronts that are that physical and can get after the passer and alter the passing game like these guys can. But trust me, going forward, knowing that defense is going to have to honor him with a safety and not a linebacker, that's going to be huge for this offense.
I had no idea the effect he would have in his first game as a Minnesota Viking, but the way he was able to stretch the field down the middle of the field and open up opportunities for everyone else, I am a fan of that, and he's only going to get better with time. Yeah. We have the Buffalo Bills next week that are 6-2. We're 7-1, 5-game lead in the NFC North. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm really excited.
What's the mindset for you and the mindset for what should the mindset for this team be going forward, trying to stack some of these wins together?
Look, I think they have to look at this and say there's not a team out there that we can't compete with and win. We've faced a lot of defenses and teams that like they're excellent or elite at one position or one grouping, and we're finding ways to not make that be a problem. Yeah. Like I said, this defensive front for Washington, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And they were a problem for most of the game. But we figured it out. We found a way to mitigate some of that stuff and take advantage of them. So who's to say after all these wins and these tough situations and being resilient that we can't do that against, arguably the best team in the league, although they lost today to the New York Jets. But we all know how high-powered their offense is. Yeah. We all know what Leslie Frazier is doing with that defense. That's an elite defense as well. They have great safeties. Yeah. They have guys that can get after the passer up front too. So major test. But by no means should we walk into Buffalo feeling like, we should doubt ourselves.
Right.
We absolutely can win that game.
7-1. It's a lot of fun. And Ben is growing some hair back on his head because we're winning.
I wish that was wouldn't it be nice if that's what happened? Like for every win, I get another sprout of hair.
Hey, if that's the case, Vikings fans, we're going to continue to win games because we all want Ben Leber to be happy.
Well, as much hair as I've lost, there's not enough games in the season. This is going to be like a 10-year bit.
Or maybe some road games, speaking of games. But, Ben, it's a pleasure always talking to you. We'll see you in Buffalo next week. For Ryan O'Neal, Ben Leber, my name is Gabe Henderson. Thank you guys again for tuning into another winning edition of Between the Lines, fueled by Gatorade.
See ya, Skull. Can't wait.